Chum Chompkins shows up in Chapter 5 for 2 scenes and then disappears. That's it. No boss fight, no extended arc, no resolution. And yet there's more hidden inside this character than most of the ones who get full chapters to themselves. Some of it is in the design, some of it is in the tapes, and at least one detail is something the game raises and then deliberately refuses to answer. Here are 10 things about Chum Chompkins that most people walked right past. Number 1. His stomach mouth had a dark purpose. His mouth isn't on his face. That's the first thing everyone notices and the last thing most people think about twice. But it matters because that mouth had a specific function before the hour of joy. Playtime Company deployed Chum as a living quiet corner for children with sensory sensitivities. When a child in playcare became overwhelmed, staff would place them inside his stomach to calm down. A cassette tape found in Chapter 5 records Gracie Green doing exactly that with an orphan named Megan, guiding her through it, telling her Chum is a safe space, that everything is fine. Megan didn't believe it for a second, and she wasn't wrong to be afraid. Number 2. Something was alive inside him. While Megan was being placed inside Chum during that same field test, she panicked and told Gracie she could hear a heartbeat coming from inside the stomach. Gracie immediately reassured her it was just a recording, a simulated sound designed to feel comforting. The game never confirms that. There is no document, no tape, no note that verifies the heartbeat was artificial. If it wasn't a recording, it means there was something alive inside Chum's stomach at the time of that test, which would be consistent with what the bigger body's process actually does to a person. That detail sits there unresolved, and the game has no interest in clarifying it. Number 3. He shares more than a look with Huggy Wuggy. Chum was designed by Taylor Gessler, the original concept artist behind Huggy Wuggy. That explains immediately why the 3 of them look related. In Chum's early concept art, the similarities to Huggy and Kissy were even more obvious than in the final model, and the ARG footage released before Chapter 5 showed Chum alongside both of them in what reads clearly as a group image. The working theory in the community is that Chum belongs to the Wuggy range, the same product line. If that's accurate, his experiment number would fall somewhere around 1171 or 1173, placing him directly between Huggy and Kissy in the sequence. Number 4. His face hides a first in the entire franchise. One of Chum's eyes is positioned noticeably higher than the other on his head. It reads as quirky at first glance, but he's actually the first character in the entire Poppy Playtime franchise where the eyes are structurally asymmetrical in terms of position. Whether that was intentional from the concept stage or reflects physical deterioration that happened to him after the Hour of Joy is never addressed. Given what prolonged isolation and trauma did to Miss Delight, the latter isn't an unreasonable reading. Number 5. His design comes from a legend you've never heard of. Chum shares a striking resemblance to the Mapinguari, a creature from Brazilian legend described as a large, hairy beast with a mouth on its stomach that devours humans whole. The Mapinguari traditionally has only one eye, while Chum has 2, but the core design elements are nearly identical. Whether this was a deliberate reference or a coincidence is unknown, but the parallel to what Chum was actually built to do with children is hard to ignore once you see it. Number 6. His first move against the player wasn't aggression. When Chum encounters the player for the first time in Chapter 5, he grabs them and tries to put them in his stomach before Giblet stops him. That reaction is worth sitting with. By that point in the chapter, the player has already been through enough to understand how dangerous the factory is. But Chum's move isn't aggression for its own sake. It's the same thing he was trained to do with children in playcare: contain, hold, store. The reflex is so automatic that it kicks in before he even processes whether the person in front of him is a threat. That's not a monster instinct, that's a conditioned response that never got corrected. Number 7. He did something unforgivable right after the Hour of Joy. The restricted_condemnation_1995 tape confirms that Chum knocked Preston Willard unconscious and swallowed him into his stomach 10 days after the Hour of Joy. That was presumably on the prototype's orders. What makes this interesting when you put it next to his behavior in Chapter 5 is the contrast. In 1995, Chum was fully aligned with the prototype with no visible hesitation. By Chapter 5, he's working as a double agent for Giblet, hiding the player from the prototype at personal risk. Something changed between those 2 moments, and the game gives no explanation for what it was. Number 8. He owes Giblet something. When Giblet introduces Chum to the player, he describes him as his guy on the inside. Later, Giblet implies that Chum owes him something, that there's a debt involved in why Chum is cooperating at all. The exact nature of that debt is never explained. What Giblet did for Chum, or what he's holding over him, or whether the arrangement is genuinely voluntary on Chum's part, none of it gets answered in Chapter 5. Given that Chum disappears after patting the player on the head and walking away, it may not get answered in Chapter 6 either. Number 9. He was never supposed to exist. Isaac Christopherson, the original writer who left Mob Entertainment before Chapter 5 was completed, confirmed publicly that neither Chum nor Giblet existed in his outline for the chapter. His version was going to have a much stronger focus on Elliot Ludwig, including lore that hasn't been revealed anywhere in the released game. The characters we got, including Chum's entire arc and role, were created by the team that finished the chapter after Isaac left. That means the version of Chum Chompkins that exists in the game is entirely the product of a creative pivot made during production. Number 10. The ARG lied to everyone. The last promotional image released before Chapter 5 came out was Chum's silhouette. The ARG had been building toward him for weeks. The community expected him to be a major presence, possibly a threat on the level of Catnap or Mommy Longlegs. He shows up in 2 scenes. In the first, he almost eats the player. In the second, he hides the player inside himself to protect them from the prototype, takes them out when the coast is clear, pats them on the head, and walks away. That's the last time you see him. The prototype had given Chum direct orders to find Poppy or face consequences. Whether Chum ever followed those orders, whether he's still somewhere in that factory, whether the debt to Giblet is paid or pending, the game leaves all of it open. After everything this franchise has built around characters who seem simple and turn out to be anything but, Chum Chompkins might be the clearest example of a character whose most important moments haven't happened yet.